This conference will now be recorded.
Hello everyone, good evening.
Good evening.
Yep, thank you. Okay, I'm starting my screen share as well, and let us go to the course curriculum as well. I hope my screen share is visible, up and running.
Yes.
Cool. So I'll do a quick recap of what we discussed yesterday. So we understood essentially why version control system has brought into picture. And when it has been brought in, the concept of centralized version control system has been introduced, which had its own drawbacks in terms of not being available offline and with limited connections threshold being available on central version control systems. And the final approach, the approach 4 that we discussed is distributed version control systems, which solved all the problems in version control management. And Git is a classic example where distributed version control system has been used, right? So that's a quick recap of what we discussed yesterday. Before I proceed further, anyone has questions to me? Okay, assuming there are no questions, we need to talk about what exactly is Git, right? What is Git and its architecture? So that is something I would like to talk about now. So to understand the Git architecture, which is your distributed version control system, I will draw some diagram here that will help us understand how things work. So I will. So I will say this is my computer. Okay, so think of this as my system. Now this is where I'm going to make a lot of work, right? Usually you work on a file. So say that I'm working on file.javascript, then config.xml. Let's say these are the files that I'm working as part of my automation process. And I'm making a lot of changes to this. And I'm sure I have to make a copy of them on the distributed version control system. So let me also write here. This is my, what should I call this? I will call it as my local working directory. Okay, so I'll call this as local working directory. This is where the test engineer makes a lot of changes on his computer, and I'm assuming that he's working on two files, file.javascript, config.xml. Now, the Git distributed version control system says you should always utilize the software Git and stage your changes or track your changes. This is when another tool comes into picture now. So I will say now we will have a tool called so I will say this is the tool that I'm talking about, and whatever changes I'm doing, right, they all will go from my local working directory. I'm sending it to this particular system. Now what is this? I'll just try to make it a little better diagram. Yeah. So this is essentially your area where your files will come back here. So my file.js will be pushed here. My config.xml file also will be pushed. But what exactly is this blue color, right? So we call this as the Git staging area or Git tracking area. This is where our files are tracked. When I say track, Git will understand what are the changes you are making, whether it is an addition change or a rename or a delete or a modification or anything for that matter. So Git is going to do that. So how do I send the changes from my local working directory to my Git staging area? So there are certain commands. Let me write the command for the time being. So the command we use is git add. Okay? Right now, please don't worry anything about the commands. I'm writing the command so that you know using that command, this movement will happen. So using the git add command, the files that you have on the local computer will be pushed into Git staging area. Okay. Now, after you push it to Git staging area, Git starts tracking it, meaning Git says, I am monitoring your changes, but Git is not saving your changes yet. You have to tell Git, you have to save my changes as well. So to tell Git that you have to save my changes, I'll bring in another concept here. This box represents the area where I save. Okay. So here also I will get again the same files, file.javascript and config.xml will come here. And we call this area as Git repository. Okay, this we call it as Git repository. And let me use the arrow to send the data from Git staging area into Git repository. The word repository means project or it's a workspace. I can simply say it's a directory or it's a folder like structure where your project data will be there. So which command should I use to do that? Right. So to do this, you have commands like git commit. So when I use the command git commit, whatever data we had in Git staging area, it will be made available in Git repository area. So difference between git add and git commit is simple. When you say git add, the data is just added to the staging area but not saved. When you say git commit, the data that you added will be saved in the Git repository. So repository is like a memory that you can think. And one thing that we should know is whatever I'm doing here, right? This entire thing from local working directory to Git staging area to Git repository area. This is typically present on my local computer. So this is my local hard disk on the user computer. Okay. So local working directory is on my C drive. Git staging area is on my C drive. Git repository is also on my C drive. Just that you are doing version control management using this git add command and git commit command. So I will say, maybe I should draw one more line. So these two lines, whatever I'm doing, right? This is where we are doing version control management. Version control system. Okay, you are doing the version control management here using the Git software. But if you understand here, my data is still on the local computer, but my computer can anytime crash. Then what is the use of this distributed version control system? How is it helping the test engineer, whether he's an automation guy or a developer or a project manager or a DevOps? How is it helping them to take a backup? Because this diagram is still not complete. So then to get a permanent backup of your data, that's where the concept of GitHub comes into picture. I will explain in depth what is GitHub later. For now, I know you are already aware of it, but for those people who don't know, just assume GitHub is like your Google Drive where you are taking a backup of your data. So I will say I'm going to get my GitHub now. Okay, so I'm just saying this is my remote repository. So this is all local repository, right? So I will call this as remote repository. But before I do that, first I should say the file.js will be available here. Config.xml also will be available. And this is my remote repository, which can be your GitHub tool according to our course. It can also be GitLab if I'm teaching you GitLab tool. It can also be something called Bitbucket if I'm teaching you that tool. So there are so many tools in the market which act like remote repository. Examples are GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket, and so forth. So how do I send my file.js and config XML to this one? Of course, I have to use some commands to get it done. So the commands that we use to send this data is git push. So git push is one command that I use to push the data from Git repository, which is Git local repository, into GitHub remote repository, which is the green color one that you see. Okay. So if you see, this is where the final backup is present. And this is where the backup on my computer is present, but maintained by Git. And this is where the backup is also present on my local hard disk, but maintained by the user. So all the yellow color ones are backups. So I will say this is backup 1, which the user is maintaining. And if I say this is my backup 2, which the user is maintaining, but controlled by Git. So this is Git back, I will say, Git backup. The third one is the main one, which is backup 3, which is maintained by GitHub server. So even if your computer crashes, you don't lose your data. It is still there on the Microsoft GitHub repository, which is nothing but your Azure servers there. Okay. So this is one way direction how your data will be pushed from your local computer until GitHub using this particular stages. And GitHub and Git, they are designed based on this architecture. There's only one way direction. Let me complete the two-way direction also. So this is how Kiran is pushing the data on day 1. Okay. So this is day 1 data. So day 2, what happens? Maybe I'll take another user from our team. So let's say Pallavi. So Pallavi is another user who was told download the work Kiran did and then you make changes on top of it. So what Pallavi does the next day, or what Kiran does the next day, is first he will connect to remote repository. And after they connect to remote repository, what they will do is they will download the data from the remote repository. Okay. So she will issue the command like this. She will also get the data from here. She will also get the data from here. Oranges are the return directions. So now, which command will Pallavi use to get the data from green box into blue box, or from remote repository to local Git repository? So we have commands like a git pull, that's one command. Then you have commands like a git clone, that's another command. But there is a difference between pull and clone. We'll talk about all those things later, but these are two examples I can give you. Git pull, so it will pull the data from remote repository. So I will get file.js and config.xml into my local computer. Okay. And after I receive it on my local computer, I can use so many other commands again in between, but I'm not getting into all those commands because it's not just one command that I have to type. There are hundreds of such commands available. Okay. So we can also use a command here called git checkout. That's another command I can use, which is used to change the branches and etc. But again, let's not get deeper into these commands now. So if not git checkout, I also have commands like a git reset. Okay. So there are so many commands that we are going to learn, and each command has a purpose thing. So this is how the two-way directional works. So typically, every user who wants to work with remote repositories such as GitHub, they will follow this hierarchy without knowing this architectural diagram. Right? Once I teach the commands, this diagram becomes very much easy as well. All you have to understand is very simple. If I have to say, first I have the local repository. First I have the working directory on my computer. Then I will push it to Git staging area. Then I'll push it to Git repository. Then I will push it to remote repository, which is nothing but GitHub remote repository. That's it. These are the only 4 steps that are there. So steps to follow is only these 4 steps. So if I write only these 4 steps, I'm sure it will be not so clear to understand, right? So therefore, if you see the diagram wise, it is pretty much easier for us now. How the distributed version control system has been designed by the industry is this diagram, which is nothing but this one. And that's a practical way of teaching you. I did not go to google.com and copied any image. It's something that you can write on your own once to understand the architecture and the commands and how Git and GitHub work together. I'll take a pause here. Are there any questions to me from anyone? Is it clear? Okay, no questions. So I'll assume it's clear. Okay, so Pallavi has a question. What command from local repo to local staging? Okay, local repo is this one. Local staging is this one. So the command you see here is git add. So the answer is git add. Okay, as you can see in the diagram. Okay, so now that we have seen the architecture diagram of Git, right? Definitely we'll have to talk about, is Git and GitHub the same or are they different? So what is Git? I will say it's a distributed version control system which you install on your local computer as a tester or as a developer. Then what is GitHub? You don't install GitHub. It's an online application available. Of course, you can install a desktop version of it and connect it to internet also. But GitHub is typically an online remote version control management service offered by Microsoft. So you can take a backup of your local computer data using Git to remote server. That's GitHub. And the next question is, are Git and GitHub related to each other? Meaning, are they same or are they different? So the answer is, remember, Git and GitHub are different. They are not same. While Git is a version control system software that works on your local PC, whereas GitHub is a remote backup service that works on the internet. Okay, so these are the points that you have to remember. Now let us go and see how we can download Git on our computer. And a couple of points about Git is it's an open source software. Okay, so we'll move to chapter 2 now. There are so many commands that we have to learn, but I think we'll do it from class 3, day 3. We'll just talk about a little bit information about Git. So if I say gitscm.com, that is the official website where Git is available. Sorry. Okay, git-scm. Okay, so you can see here on their official website, they say it is the distributed version control management software. And you can download this for Mac operating system, Windows operating system, and Linux operating system. And Git is an open source software, meaning there is no license associated. So I will say Git is an open source software. available for all popular operating systems such as Windows, Mac, Linux, etc. And this is the official website from where you can download Git. And of course, if you wanted to learn more about Git or you wanted to know the commands, you can see here there is a documentation available. If I open the documentation, you have the GitHub cheat sheet, or you have the entire Pro Git book also is available, or you can read online for free. If you come here, if you click about version control, whatever I have explained, you will see it here. In fact, this is something I was talking to you even yesterday, if you remember. Right? Here they have explained centralized version system and distributed version control system. So this documentation is so powerful that it's pretty much easy. So here you can read everything for free. You don't have to go through anything. Here you click on what you want to know and you'll get the entire answers. You don't have to go through any other website. This is much better to learn. So I'll put here, this is the notes. And you also have the reference manual. Here also you can go and read all the commands. So I'm going to pick up few of these commands that are necessary and explained in the course. So to download Git on your computer, since I'm on Windows, I can click on this Windows. Here it says you can click here to download the latest version. So as I'm teaching you today, the latest version of Git is 2.51. You can click on this, click here to download, and that should download the Git software. I'll stop it because I have it already, but let me still continue it. It's okay. The size of the file is 61 megabytes. The installation process is pretty simple. You have to just double click, click on next, 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 and then finish. That's it. So after you download Git, you need to install it. And these days, if you're working on your office laptop or your personal laptop, Git is mostly installed because we use it. So even if you have not installed it, if you want to check whether Git is present or not on your computer, just type this command, git space dash dash version. It will tell if Git is installed. So I'll do that. I have not yet installed Git now. So let us see whether my computer has it or not. So I'll type git dash dash version. And you see, I already have it installed because I use it. So it's there already. So 2.45.2, that is the version I have. And that is the version you see here. But nevertheless, we just downloaded it. So you see it here. So here it is. So all you have to do is double click and start the installation. So this is the setup screen. See, I'll click on next. Don't change anything. Just click on next. Click on next. I'm just clicking on next. I'm going with the default options. Finally, you'll click on install. So I'm not doing install because you saw that it's already there. So I'll cancel it, but you have to click on install, and that will take care of the installation process. Okay, so I hope the process of downloading the software Git is clear for all of you, right? And whatever I'm teaching here is also pretty much simple only. So for the first few set of classes, we will be focused purely on the Git process. We will talk about GitHub from day 6 or day 8. Initially, we'll try to master more commands related to Git. Okay, let me know if there are any questions until this point on the Git.
After installing, will it ask for any username and password to enter?
No, Ravi, you don't have to provide any username and password during the Git installation process. It's all same steps. Next, 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 install. That's it.
Okay.
When do you have to provide username and email? That I'll tell you, but not during the installation. You don't have to do it during installation. can ignore it. So what we have done is we have downloaded Git, which is free. Then we have installed Git on the computer. After you have installed Git on the computer, you can check if it is installed or not. So use this command on the command prompt and check. I've shown that to you already just now. So Git is already installed on my computer. Now that Git is installed, straightforward, we can learn lot of Git commands. Okay, there are so many commands that we are going to learn. I will definitely talk about all those commands. And if you wanted to learn more about Git, you can also write git dash dash help. That's another command that you can use. So if I open my command prompt, when I type git dash dash version, I can see the Git version installed. And when I say git dash dash help, it will show all the commands that are available. So I don't have to go to google.com. So just git dash dash help says, so git clone is a command, git init is a command, git add is a command, etc., etc. So many commands are there. So we don't have to go through, Google as such for that matter, right? So we'll come there. So let me come here. So we have installed Git, but here you see I also mentioned Git bash, but I have not installed Git bash now. All I have shown you is how to download Git and install it. Now, where is this Git bash coming from? So the answer is simple. Just like we have the command prompt, which your Microsoft Windows operating system is providing. So this is mostly a black and white command prompt, right? Few people like it, few people don't like it. Okay. Now, if you are looking for a colorful prompt, something like this only, but colorful. This is like a black and white television. If you want a colorful television, then we go for this tool, Git bash. Earlier, we used to install this exclusively. Now you don't have to do that exclusively. So once you have installed Git, it will install Git bash as well. So Git and Git bash will be installed together. How would I know if Git bash is also installed? Simple. On your Windows search for Git bash, and you see it's already there. Even on your computer, you will get it if you install Git. So once I open Git bash, I'll click on open. So it is also a command prompt. The only difference is it's a colorful television. It's a colorful prompt, I will say. The font size is less. What you can do is click on this menu and click on options. Here you can change the colors, you can increase the font size, everything. So I'll go to text, select. So I'll change the font size to 14. Change it to something. You see the font size has increased now. And I can type git dash dash version. Same command I can type here also. I can also type git dash dash help, and you get the commands. So the only difference is being this is a colorful command prompt, while the default one is a normal command prompt. So this is a normal command prompt. Okay. So whichever you want, you can use. There is no need that you have to use the one that you want. We close this. Okay. Right. So we have installed Git, and that also installed Git bash. We have already understood the Git workflow diagram. This is the diagram that I was talking about. Now we need to talk about what is local repository, what is Git repository, what is remote repository. So many things are there here that we have to talk about. So what I would do is I will tell you guys what are the common uh, terminologies, common keywords that we use in the industry. Most of them are easy and already you might have heard of them. I'll go ahead and write it over here. So I will say common keywords used. So we often hear the word directory. We often hear the word CLI. We hear the word CD. We hear the word code editor. We hear the word local repository. We hear another word remote repository. We hear the word Git, GitHub. Yeah, so that should be okay. Maybe few more we'll hear. Let me see if I can help you guys understand what are these. When we say directory, I will call it as a folder, right? So if I open something here, like if I go to documents, this documents is a folder, or you call it as a directory. If I go to pictures, right? So this is also one directory here I have. Okay. If I go to music, this is also one directory. If I go to videos, this is also one directory. So that directory is nothing but a folder like structure. So I'll say this is a folder like structure on the local computer. Okay. Then you hear the word CLI. CLI stands for command line interface, which is nothing but your git bash command. Example will be your Windows command prompt or git bash terminal. So if I open CMD, so this is my command prompt, or if I open git bash, this is also my CLI interface. Okay. Then you have CD, which means change directory. You are all aware of it. I don't have to explain again. So if I want to change the directory to downloads, I type CD documents or CD downloads, and now it changes to documents. If I want to change it back one step back like this, I can do that. Right. So CD especially means you can change the directory from C to D, D to E, or D to C, or E to D, move from documents to downloads, downloads to music, music to picture, etc. So we use CD command to change the directory on the computer. Then we have code editor. Code editor typically means it's a word processor that we use for writing the code. So if I use Notepad to write a code, then my code editor is Notepad. If I use Eclipse, then code editor is Eclipse. If I use IntelliJ or if I use Visual Studio, then they all become your code editors. So I will say it is a word processor where we can write the code. Example, Notepad, Eclipse IDE, IntelliJ IDE, or Visual Studio code editor, etc. So many examples are there. We can use anything. Okay. Then we hear the word local repository. Repo means a directory. So whether I call it as directory or repository, it is one and the same. When we say local repository, it exists on your local computer. Okay. So I will say it is a project folder where all the project scripts, files are tracked. Okay. So something like if I go to documents and I create some files here, then these project files are stored in this local repository that you see here. When I say remote repository, it is not on your local computer. It is there on the GitHub server or GitLab server or on the Bitbucket server. So, and I will say, and this is typically on your local computer. Same definition applies even for remote or committed and pushed. And this is typically on servers, or I will say on GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket. In our course, it is GitHub because this is where I'm going to take a backup of it. Git and GitHub already you know, I don't have to tell again. Git is my distributed version control system. GitHub is your remote online service where the data backup happens, right? So these are few of the common terminologies we hear every day when I'm speaking something. I might say something else also, but when I use it, I will definitely explain that. I'll take a pause here. Any questions I have from you? Okay, am I clear for everyone? Can you please confirm?
Yeah, it's clear, Kiran. Good.
Okay, thank you, Ramu and Ravi. Okay, thank you, Pallavi. Okay, so okay, now what we'll do is now that we discussed some keywords, I think we should also talk about certain commands which are basic commands. Okay, this is nowhere related to GitHub and Jenkins, but something that we might use in the process of our course. These are basic commands. I'm sure you are aware of it, but a little brush up I'll do today for the next 10 minutes. So few CLI commands that we need to talk. Okay, so we have pwd command, which means
Present working directory.
correct. So it displays the path of current or present working directory. So that is what it does. Let us cross check if it is doing or not. Sometimes it is operating system specific. So if I say pwd, it says this command is not recognized. Okay, fine, no problem. Let me see if git bash recognizes it. Okay, git bash is recognizing it. So I'll use git bash. So when I said pwd, it says right now you are in C users and Kiranji path. Okay, that is the path where I'm present. So it is printing it, print working directory. Then we use cd command and the directory or the path where you want to navigate. So I will say changes the directory path as given, which we have already seen. So right now I'm in Kiranji. I wanted to go to users. Okay, or I want to go to downloads or documents. So I'll say cd documents, and you see now I'm in documents. If I say pwd print working directory, earlier it said only you are in Kiranji directory. Now it is in documents directory because I have used cd documents. Okay, and if you say cd dot dot, it will take you one step back. See, now I'm from documents, I'm back to this path. And if I say pwd, now it prints that you are only in Kiranji but not in documents anymore. So the next command is cd dot dot. So moves the directory to one step back. Okay. Then you have ls command. It's a common command we use most of the times. It is used to display what are the contents of the current folder or current directory. Okay. So it will list the file folder detail or structure. Let us see. Right now I'm in Kiranji folder. So clear the screen. If I type ls list, so it says these are the files present in the current path. Let me say cd downloads. So I'm in downloads. If I say ls, whatever is present in my downloads, it will print it. So it says these are the files present in my downloads. So it is printing it. Okay, that is what we saw, ls. If you want to display hidden files, then same ls minus la, I guess. This is without hidden files, the first one. The second one is including hidden files. Okay. So let us try here ls minus len. You see some hidden files are also printed here. Okay. Again, you don't have to take these commands little serious. We just Google it, we get it. But I wanted to just brush those things. If you want to create a folder on the computer, what do? Let's say I wanted to create a folder in my downloads. I right click, new, click on folder, right? But the command I wanted to do is
mkdir.
correct, mkdir, which is make directory, and the name. Let's say the name I want to give it is training. Okay? Training Kiran is a folder name. And now I don't see any error. Now if I say ls, you see the folder training Kiran is also coming. Earlier it was not there. And physically it is also created. So training Kiran is created. I'll delete it from here. I'll again press ls. Now that is not coming here. Okay. So mkdir is one command. It will create a folder in the current path. Then if I have to talk about a few more commands, which are simple again, let's say I wanted to delete a file, we right click and delete it. If you want to delete the file, you can use rm command and the file name. So this is used to delete a file on your computer. And if you want to delete the directory, you can use rm. Rm is nothing but remove. And here you can give directory name also if you want to remove. And if you want to delete the contents inside the folder also, you can use rm minus r. R means recursive, and you can delete everything. So let us say I wanted to create training Kiran. If I say ls, I see training Kiran. I want to remove it. So I'll say rm minus r training Kiran. It should be done. If I say ls, now you see it is not coming. Earlier it was there. Now we have deleted it using rm minus r. And if you want to create a file, I will say cat, which is for concatenation. I'll call the file name as abcd.txt. Okay, not cat. I think it's touch abcd.txt to create a file. If I say ls, you see abcd.txt is there, and I want to delete it. So I'll say remove r m and the file name. The file is gone. If I say ls, now you no longer see that file here. Okay. So these are a few common commands. So I will say if you use a touch file name, the file will be created. To create a file, to delete a folder and its contents, to delete a file. Okay. Then for copy, we have cp command, but again, I'm not getting into those simple things. We don't have to get into those things. If you want to print the content of a file, we use cat file name to print the file contents. So example, I'll create a file here. I'll call it as ABC, and I will say this is Kiran and welcome to day 2 class. I'm saving it, closing it. And here I will say concatenate cat ABC. See, so when I say cat and the file name, it prints what is there. Okay, let me remove the file. So cat is used to display the contents of it. Okay, there are still so many commands, guys. We will probably talk about them in the next class, but these are operating system commands that I have spoken. But I'm pretty much interested in talking about Git commands. That is where the actual course starts from. Okay, so I'll pause here. Any questions to me? And that's all I have for today as well. The next class, we are going to talk about the detailed Git commands, how to input your username, how to input your email address, how to initialize Git repository, how to add elements to the staging area, how to commit, how to reset, how to reverse the changes. So many commands we will talk in depth starting from next class, and that's when the actual part in chapter 2 will start. So we have completed chapter 1, which is pretty simple. Chapter 2 we just started. Any questions, guys, before we sign off from today's class? Okay, so I'll assume we are good. Thank you very much for your time. I'll see you in the next class. If you are having any questions, feel free to drop in a message on the chat window. I'll
Next
be able
class
to
will
answer.
be on Monday.
Yes, yes. The next class will be on Monday. Weekends, it's a long weekend, so weekends we don't have classes in general. So next class is on Monday, guys. Thank you, everyone. Happy weekend. Bye-bye.